like this.
Nightmare.
They're going to train them entire New Zealand.
They're going to have them punching Iranian drones out of the skies over California.
Like it.
They're actually
like it.
learning key blasts right at the moment as we speak.
The best way to beat a drone is take it down to the ground with a grapple.
They're learning to Kamehameha the drones out of the sky.
It means atomic substance equals spin. The propaganda's a win. Stress feeding on my tension. My countrymen, they love their fiction. Words upon now. It's made with good intentions.
Kia ora and welcome to 1 of 200, the New Zealand Politics and Media podcast. What were we talking about? You'll never find out because we're not going to give any context for it. I'm joined by a roundtable of co-hosts with a variety of different skills and knowledge. Welcome to the podcast, John. How are you doing?
Were we meant to have skills and knowledge? Shit.
Oh, shit. Variety of something that might be zero.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm fine then. I'm absolutely fine.
Perfect. Ginny, how are you doing?
Could be worse, Kyle. Could always be worse.
We're off to a roaring start. And Simone, welcome.
You know, Kyle, earlier this morning, I wanted to die, but thanks to cognitive behavioral therapy, now I want other people to die.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Are we allowed to use that? Can we actually
Why would we not use that?
I don't know.
I didn't say how, by accident.
No, that was
That's
funny.
true.
That was
Just
funny.
wishing that many people are the cause of many problems.
Yeah,
Okay.
look, you heard a little snippet of the way that might happen at the beginning of the podcast before the intro.
The leftists, they're training the Kamehamehas.
The news keeps coming. Things keep escalating.
Things don't stop coming.
Everything happens so much.
Yeah, and we're here to laugh about it, I guess, to do some kind of analysis. Hopefully one that you don't really hear or see anywhere else. Let's start with the absolutely confected discourse around Luxon not being rolled again, because it's so indicative of the way New Zealand's media pack are just completely incapable of doing anything except accepting the punch card and giving us an output. I think both Jamie Inser and Thomas Coughlan had to share a byline for their big piece about how Luxon was going to be rolled before the weekend, which is just such a clear indication of who's got access to the people that were trying to roll Christopher Luxon. And failing again, by the way, because they fail every time because they're pathetic and they never put their names to it. They know that they don't have anyone to rally around, so no one's actually taking a leadership kind of challenge against him in a way that would get the public on side and actually keep the discourse going, because they're cowards. And what they're hoping is that Luxon will just like turn up to caucus and be like, well, I guess the writing's on the wall, I'm going to stand down. Can you imagine that guy being able to read?
Wow.
And seeing this in the media and making that decision? Because I can't.
They're calling him the least rollable egg that has ever been like laid by some sort of chicken. Like honestly,
Some sort of chicken.
some sort of
Humpty
horrible
Dumpty didn't
Judith
need to be
Collins
put
like
together
chicken.
again.
But it's just it is watching it be like a full day's news cycle from like a 5 a.m. exclusive on the Herald through to Luxon kind of sliming his way into the Newstalk ZB studio to talk to Heather Duplessis Allen and going, no, I'm not going anywhere. I can't believe this. Like a full day of comment pieces of every comment journalist or political analyst going, yeah, you know, he doesn't actually listen to anyone and he doesn't trust polling. And when he calls John Key, he doesn't listen to John Key either, which I thought was a really funny one. He doesn't even listen to John Key. Oh my God. Like just a full day of it. And it's one poll by an extremely disreputable polling organization, which shall not be named. But I was thinking like 3 days before there was another poll that was done, which showed that the majority of New Zealanders think billionaires shouldn't exist while there is material hardship for the population. They agree that you should raise taxes on people. And this is like across the board. We're talking big numbers here. Mamdani numbers for like, let's get the rich. We got maybe 2 articles, like probably after 5 p.m. when everyone stopped checking the news sites about it. And I was like, one of these is more reflective of New Zealand and the other is reflective of New Zealand's political class. And yes, they want to like get a spoon and tap Luxon's head until it comes off, and then like dip Erica Stanford in there and something and get the prime ministerial goo on her or however it works. But
I think you nailed it.
yeah, something like
This
that.
is more vor than I was expecting at 9 a.m.
He didn't say that you're gonna eat it.
Yeah, we're not eating it, and I don't think it's sexual either, so I think we're
It's
safe.
like royal jelly for bees.
Platonic boring.
No. There's no eating. There's no eating.
There's no eating.
There's no
No.
eating.
Nobody can afford to eat. Have you seen the price of everything?
Luxon is not a real eater.
Eggs
confirmed.
cost too much. We have to crack Luxon open.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Platonically, that's not actionable.
Cracking
Platonically,
Luxon's egg is a
okay.
terrifying concept.
Yo, no.
He's like
no.
next on the list after Graham Linehan for person who would just be the worst.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe we will have a change of leadership for the National Party. Maybe it won't be Christopher Luxon anymore. You know what I mean?
perhaps. I think you've hit on a really key thing there as well, John, which is and it comes back to the punch card metaphor I was making, right? Like there is all this information out there. There's all this stuff that the audience wants to read. There's all this stuff that is happening in politics that people would be excited to engage with, and New Zealand media are just like, nah. Because you look at some of these polls, like National and Luxon are, I would say, heading towards generationally unpopular. And every so often, there'll suddenly be a problem. It'll be a problem when Christopher Bishop or Nicola Willis or Erica Stanford have claimed that they might have the numbers, and they just wanted to test the waters. They just want to test the waters. Can you throw this out there for us, please, NZME journalists? And then, what was it, just like a day or so ago, Henry Cook has this piece, like, maybe this crisis is what will make Luxon prime ministerial. Like, immediate turnaround.
Brainworms.
Just-
Complete brainworms.
And now we're going to
Like,
have, like, for the next, 6 months until the election, you just have to get to know him again for the seventh, time in this electoral cycle. Luxon is one of the most unpopular prime ministers ever. How and why? Why are you doing this to yourselves?
Perhaps one of the funniest things is when they're like, when the MPs come out, whether that's, a national MP or it's Shane Jones or something, and they say, listen, you don't understand the mess that Labour has left us in. And you're like, it's been your entire fucking term. What are you talking about? Like, and they're just allowed to get away with it. They can just say that. They can come out and be like, listen, we don't have any oil because Labour was too mean to a company, and then they felt like they should close their refinery. What?
We're going to get it even worse pretty soon, I reckon, with Willis claiming that it actually is global events this time. And all the media's going to be like, global events. Oh, got to rally around the flag, everyone. Vote for Luxon because, they're so hard done by. After taking the completely different stance for Labour versus global events. Because that was actually all Labour's fault on how they responded to it. Which was mostly correctly and incredibly well, by the way, when it came to COVID. According to the most recent review 2 of Infinite, if New Zealand First has any say in the matter, it's just sad. Like, the media poll bubble, especially down in Wellington, it's so reactionary, it's so regressive. Like, they may as well be AI. Like, honestly, literally just fire them and replace them with ChatGPT. Like, no one cares. No one cares. It's irrelevant.
No, it is really, really shocking to me though, because I mean, we've known that the coverage has been lacking on national for basically since they were elected. And I think it's really telling that most of the news that I've seen this week has really been, I guess, a twist on what's happened with the inquiry around COVID and Jacinda. Headlines being like, oh, like Jacinda fleeing to Australia in the wake of all these inquiries. And I'm like, can we not talk about Christopher Luxon's many, many incompetent comments that he's made recently about Iran, about the ongoing conflict, about what to do with America, but like nothing, absolutely fucking nothing. So
Jacinda Ardern is still more clickbait than Christopher Luxon because people
Yeah.
like her more.
I don't know if she's gracious or just doesn't care to talk, which would be completely fair, right? But like, it would be so easy for her to be like, yeah, everybody has to move to Australia to get a job now. Even me, Luxon sucks that much. Like, it would be so
even
easy.
me, the ex-prime minister, the brain drain has hit the ex-prime minister
There's
of
no
New Zealand.
CV which can get you a job in Luxon's New Zealand. Like, that's such a funny line to spin.
That would be a great ad, actually. That would
That's
be an
not what I was
amazing ad.
thinking of before, but so you should keep talking, Kyle.
Yeah.
I think we're all being incredibly harsh here. I mean, this week, 6 months out from the election, is the week that Chris Luxon finally became the Prime Minister. Like, up until
Oh.
now, he has not been Prime Minister. He is now the Prime Minister, and we should respect him for that and give him a fair go at the job.
Mr. Luxon is slowly undergoing a process to become Rob Muldoon over time.
It's not put on your dancing shoes, put on your jackboots. Something is back. I don't know what it is. Certainly not the economy at
Put on
this
your high
rate.
vis and go to field days.
Oh yeah, put on your red bands. It's
Completely clean red bands that still have the tag hanging out of them, and a
look,
high vis that still has all the folds in
we just have to be
from where they've taken
grateful
it out of the bag.
that National
Gumboots.
and Ag Party MPs are stimulating the economy by getting out there to the warehouse and buying a fresh pair of boots.
That's a GDP improvement. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure, sure. It's been bad. The COVID inquiry stuff has been really weird. Again, from the media in particular, who have the entire document there with all the information and are choosing to headline and report on stuff that's just clearly wrong. And I just don't think there's any there's no benefit of the doubt that can be given to these people anymore. You can't say, "Oh, they're just doing disinformation because it gets the clicks," right? There was this ludicrous thing that occurred yesterday, the day before, as well, like following on from the COVID inquiry, where Lloyd Burr did this piece and stuff,
Oh,
where the
Jesus.
headline basically says, "Fuck, I should find the actual headline."
It's like getting COVID is the new getting immunity from
It's
COVID.
essentially that
Yes, that's the one.
the COVID immunity cycle. Why catching the virus is basically our new booster. This is just fucking. This is so harmful. This
In
is
a
the most
sane country, that would get you imprisoned.
like it's actually horrific. And had a complaint, and Keith Lynch, the editor in chief at Stuff, was like, "Ah, nah, we're fine. It's fine. Like, it's just evil.
The
It's
aptly
just
named
evil."
Keith Lynch.
This is not just like clickbait. This is not just like being reactionary. This is not just being contrarian. This is outright disinformation that the editorial is okay with, the commentator is okay with. That is going to kill people.
Like, I went to get my COVID booster this week,
Well done.
and they'd run out.
Great.
In my small rural provincial town where there's quite a big contingent of anti-vaxxers, people are getting the messaging, shit, the ninth wave is here, like, time to get your booster. But then you read the paper and it's just like, oh, apparently we don't have to because the media says so. And the COVID inquiry stuff's fascinating because the news articles that you saw were, oh, Labour kept Auckland locked down too long. And then you're like, how long? They're like 4 days. Like,
Yeah, like
stop you there.
they're lying by omission.
But then you saw all of the National Party MPs, and it was my favourite thing to do on the day of the inquiry and the day after was they all came out with their pre-prepared lines and their little infographics and all of this stuff, going, Labour, blah, 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 and ate shit in the comments consistently. Like,
Yes.
consistently, every National MP was getting fucking lit up like an Iraqi oil tanker in the Persian Gulf. It was superb. Because you just watch them all completely lose it. Like, there was one guy, oh, fuck, I can't remember his name. He ended up replying to his own post to try and knock the comments down so it wasn't so obvious he was getting owned.
No.
Like, with him trying to
Jeez.
justify the post. And I was like,
That's fucking
this is the
sad.
thing. And I've said this week. Most people, 95% of people in this country, look at what we did during COVID and they're fucking proud that we all put shoulders to the wheel, we got the work done. Like, we know it was difficult. We know it was unknown territory. We know that not everything worked properly, but most people are proud of it. But apparently we're too worried about this tiny percentage that constitutes Winston Peters' vote to actually come out and say it. Like, I would have fucking loved to have Chris Hipkins and Aisha Verrill up in the parliamentary auditorium doing a COVID-style briefing where they just go through the document and says, and here's where it says we did good, and here's where it says we did good. And by the way, National voted for all of this. Oh, and the money they say we're wasting, they wanted us to spend more. I would have loved them to do that, but
Tell me
they
about
just
Labour's
don't.
comms strategy.
They don't have the fucking capability to see an opportunity to actually remind people and tell the public, you all did a great job. Because that's kind of been lost. And I think it is because 2023 election, everyone was just so fucking tired of it all. But looking back on it now, it should be a thing to say, hey, we helped, but you guys did the work here. Good job. And, you know, that's good, isn't it? Isn't it? But apparently it's them going, oh, well, yeah, actually the inquiry says we did fine. Let's just move on. because we've got other things to talk about.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of stuff fully taken out of context as well. One was around Hipkins not taking advice, in air quotes, around the lockdown. And it turns out that the people making this claim failed to differentiate between the advice paper from a week beforehand and advice on the day, only a couple of hours before the announcement, which was in line with what the government ended up doing. Just outright lying, and a media that is happy to amplify that, that is actively creating some of this disinformation discourse. And, we've seen this particularly since 2023 accelerate on basically any issue you can think about, geopolitical or national politics. They have chosen to take an editorial line which is pro-capital, genocidal, pro-war, pro-death a lot of the time in regards to things like COVID. I just don't see much hope for our media institutions at this point. That's something you probably heard me say for 10 years. But I keep not having any faith in them or hope. And again, like I just wish that Labour and other institutions that are kind of have the machinery had properly stood up some kind of alternative information framework, complementary, not derogatory, because there are a fair few alternative information pipelines out there for the far right and the Nazis that politicians regularly go on. This could have been done, and this stuff could have been communicated more effectively to the New Zealand public, and they've just kind of thrown their hands up and said, "Oh, I guess we have to be a little bit fascist ourselves." So really disappointing on that front. And now they're kind of eating it over COVID.
We do need to do one thing though, which is the actual inquiry report itself is really good. Like even though it was set up to bag Labour and it was set up to kind of prove that it was bad, the report itself says actually no, they did really well, and if anything, like they underestimated the misinformation, etc. Like a lot of things people already knew, but there wasn't anything new here. It was, we did a good job in really harsh circumstances, once in a century pandemic, and what they were hoping for was a smoking gun, but there wasn't one, which is why Winston's now calling for a vaccine injury inquiry, because he's going to keep drilling down to smaller and smaller nut bars until he eventually can get that tinfoil wrapped group to consistently vote for him. Like that must be what he's up to, because fuck knows what else he's doing here.
Yeah, this guy who was there, trying to force vaccine mandates, right? Like he was further to. Well, I don't even know if there's a right or left there. He was more in the bag for those than I was, right?
The rare Chris Hipkins zinger this week. The wonderful thing about Winston Peters is you don't actually have to be consistent. He was saying people must get the jab to be on the dole or go on parole and stuff like that. But now he's saying this, and I was just like, close. It should have been harsher.
Yeah,
But
well, he
he's
can't be
still
too
trying to
harsh because he wants to vote with him.
He needs him. He needs him. He's like making the heart. He's like this at him in Parliament.
You could have said we need a second wine box inquiry. It's called looking at the back of Winston Peters' car.
I think, I'll just trail off.
I was gonna
Just
say,
trail off.
I mean, you're right. I think John's completely right. I think Jenny's right in spirit, having nodded along and agreed to everything that you have both said and I've ever said in my life. And that
Okay, let's not take it that far. Not everything you've said in your life. Let's just ride it back a bit.
And that Chris Hipkins is kind of the resident schoolboy of Parliament. And at the moment, he really is like a child hiding under a desk while a school shooter is stalking around, which is really confusing because Chris Luxon is non-threatening. So it's kind of weird that he's just like, if we don't move, the raptor can't see us. And you're like, well, no, you have a job as the leader of the opposition to present an alternative to how to run this country, to the political economy of this country, to the kind of reworking the structures and saying, I mean, we're going to move on to this, but pandemic aside, I'm just in total disbelief that there is a series of like own goals waiting to, or like, open goals waiting to happen with respect to the cost of living in this country with petrol and the war in Iran and National wanting to get closer to the United States militarily and putting an FBI base in Wellington. I mean, this is such an easy line to kind of pull. And I suppose we'll talk about that more in depth, but that as well as, yes, the what happened with this inquiry. And they're seriously, I do feel like they're going to be like, nah, let's just run it again. Let's just keep running it again till we get the answer that we want. And realistically, yeah, you can point to it and say, look, these are all the, lives that are saved. Do you like grandma? You like grandma in your life? That was us, and New Zealand First agreed with us because they were part of that government.
Yeah.
It's
And everyone knows
so
that
easy
as
to
well,
do.
right?
And yeah, as well. And the other thing you can point out, it's just like, go on, don't just defend your record, go on the attack and be like, look what it is again. The rich people in this country are so annoyed that they had to be inconvenienced like proles for more than a few days. They couldn't stand that they had to follow the rules. And now they're pissing and whining and moaning for years and years to come because they didn't think they had to be like you and actually help other people and think about other people in their lives. You know,
Yeah.
like just
And then
start attacking them
tie that to the people hating billionaires, right? Like there's a whole bunch of ways to do this.
because that is exactly what happened. They will never ever forgive the Labour government for having made them realize that other people exist and they have to follow the rules. There might actually be enforcement against them.
Yeah.
You know.
And then one of the people who was out there making alternative far right media and trying to entryize the New Zealand discourse just ended up buying a large share of NZME. It's like,
One, oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that's how it works, right? And one thing that really, I mean, because this prevents us also from making critiques about pandemic response from the other side, right? When it was happening, we could easily have said like, hold on, why are you giving all of these millions and millions of dollars directly to businesses rather than doing alternative ways of kind of restructuring this? Yeah, why is it that we still have to pay rent during this time? Why do people still have to pay mortgages during this time? Can't we put in a state of emergency? Like there are ways in which you can kind of talk about it and critique it that I think make a lot of sense from the left, but that's kind of precluded from the conversation now because Labour barely will even defend its position of having just followed the most simple advice and saved lives that way.
yeah.
And I think it's also worth saying we're the party of Labour. Who actually helped us through the pandemic? It wasn't these rich pricks. It was nurses who were working double shifts. And it's kind of hard to say that because they want to deny them pay rises and better conditions. But, you can rhetorically at least use them if you're a cynical politician and be like, it's Labour that runs this country. Who's not an essential worker? Chris Luxon, CEOs. Like, none of these people are essential workers. Who's an essential worker? You're an essential worker. If you're a garbage worker, if you're a janitor, if you're a nurse, if you're a teacher, we need you. And this
Yeah.
country runs on you.
And the thing is, Labour can do that without a lot of critique. Anyway, they're not going to get called up at this point for not raising wages for healthcare workers because then that opens a conversation for National and ACT and New Zealand First as well. And also the Greens have been really leery about attacking Labour effectively from the left flank. So they're not going to get attacked from there either unless something changes pretty soon in regards to the Greens comms strategy. Let us move on to this global crisis. Luxon started out, when the US and Israel just unilaterally bombed Iran, did some war crimes by completely flubbing it and saying that he'd be okay with any action to stop a Iranian nuclear program, which didn't exist in the way that he meant, and then having to walk back from that within 24 hours, not really forced to talk too much about what the impacts on New Zealand would be. Very clear from day one, and even from like during the negotiations, which the US was using to provide cover for their ambush attack on Iran, by the way, also a war crime. Very clear that this is probably going to have like a global oil shock effect, and never queried about it, not front-footing anything about it. Now, suddenly, out of seemingly nowhere, the government has started to, it has been forced to start putting out information about potential oil crisis levels. And Nicola Willis took the incredible step of sending Trump a message to say that she wanted peace because peace was good for the economy. I don't know. Do we think this government is perhaps not prepared in any way, shape, or form to deal with a crisis?
There is an article in the Post today. It's an interview by everyone's favorite communist, Luke Malpass,
Oh yeah.
Everyone's
with Nicola
favorite communist.
with Nicola Willis. Headline: Nicola Willis: New Zealand must fight for fuel security. And she says they're having to prepare three different approaches to May's budget because of the oil crisis. And let's have a look.
How
Apparently, Shane
horrific. That's
Jones
so
is
much
deeply
work.
involved in it. The economic ramifications could linger. Oh, yes, I had a feeling this was going to be bad. We need to balance the books and we can't throw money at the problem. So the messaging is already out there, which is, yeah, we can't. In a major shock, we should be able to borrow it, but she's compared it to COVID here somewhere as well.
Oh, so they are doing that bit now. That's so funny.
I
Right.
recall during this is a time when New Zealand has to put its interests first and fight hard for our interests. I recall during COVID-19 there were discussions about where we were in the queue for vaccines, and some magnanimous comments saying we didn't need them as much because other countries were worse off. A fact that's a fact. That was just true. Well, actually, New Zealanders need fuel. It's critical to our economy, and as ministers, we'll be fighting to get that fuel security. She is actually comparing importing crude or processed oils to getting the vaccine in during a pandemic. I mean, there's there's no shame here, is there?
Simone looks like she's gonna cry.
Yeah, I think Simone is close to tears.
That's an incredible interview with
Oh,
like
interesting. You interpret any woman's emotions as going to cry. Many
don't make
thoughts
it.
here, Kyle.
You're
I've been
making
doing
a
it all my
crying
life,
face.
so yeah.
I'm incensed, is what I am.
Tears of
Oh,
anger.
whoops, read that one wrong.
Tears of anger.
Yeah, the autism crew can't read a face.
Here is
Likely place for it to happen.
Here's Nicola Willis to Trump. So I'm unsurprised that she said these interesting things to Malpass. Speaking on Ryan Bush today, the finance minister said her message to Trump was, "Peace is good, full stop. It's good for people. It's good for the economy. And if we want to be a wealthier world, it helps if we can have peace. So please work hard to achieve it."
Kyle, is there an M dash in that sentence? Is there an M dash in there somewhere? Because that feels M dashy.
There is not an M dash.
No, it's a full Cormac McCarthy no comma paragraph.
Oh wow,
That's
you mean that kind
No,
of
incredible.
weird
no.
writing which
It
proves
actually
it's
has
not
multiple
AI?
commas for emphasis. I
That's
don't know if
horrific.
those were put in.
You laugh, but she has to talk this way to Trump because he has dementia.
So I'm just going to read the last bit of this article. I'm very mindful there's only so many times a country can declare a crisis and spend its way through it.
Oh,
I'd put
right. So
to
they're
you,
front-footing that shit.
I'd put to you, she's caught Luxon disease, that New Zealand is still paying the price for the overspending that happened during COVID.
Oh my
That price
God.
is both how long it's taken to unwind our cost of living crisis. It's also in the sheer magnitude of debt that we're having to repay, and I don't want to repeat that mistake.
Wait, wait, wait,
That's
wait,
how she
wait.
closes.
But then that, like, if you're laying it up like that, that's saying we're going to cut so fucking hard in this budget that nothing is going to exist. That's the only way I'll read
Probably.
that.
You
Yeah, I
can't
mean,
just
she.
declare a crisis when there's a global pandemic and spend money to support the economy. That's not right. And,
I
when
think she.
20% of the world's oil doesn't go through the fucking Straits of Hormuz, that's also, you shouldn't just declare it as a crisis, even as oil goes like over 100 a barrel. Okay, that's just sensible, just not admitting there is a crisis.
Yeah, I mean, I think we knew that they were going to front foot it like that because I think she's been quoted as well before, just a couple of days ago, saying that she thinks the government will have to rewrite entire portions of the May budget because of the oil prices. So she's been laying it up like this for a couple of days now, almost a week.
How do you think they think that things will just keep running if they continue to make cuts like this? They've already made cuts so significant and cancelled or removed so many jobs
Mm,
from the public service that New Zealand now has a generational issue in healthcare and teaching and infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. Like I don't know what this does. If they try and go for another round that's as bad as the last couple of years, amplified by a global oil crisis. I think you were saying before we started recording, John, that it's like the banks are kind of comparing it to possibly like '08 in terms of a global financial crisis. Like
Yeah,
if that happens,
Bank of America's making the kind of noises like, "Hey, can you guys like stop pushing the oil price up, please? It's making shit get weird." As in, like
mm,
central bank intervention in markets, kind of weird. And
mm.
when that's Bank of America saying that, that's when you know you're in the good stuff.
like it just breaks us. It would like there's nothing left. Sorry,
We're also happy about this, aren't we? Everyone just like the continuous depressive spiral. I feel like every new article I
Calm
read about the
actually,
fuel
right now.
prices, it's just, yeah, I don't, I think driving past the other day and then seeing the price of oil be what, over $3 for 91 is insane.
I feel
That's
so good that I
absolutely,
don't drive anymore.
that's absolutely fucking insane. And I just can't, all the articles are now talking about how the war is going to be bad for business. There's going to be like supply logistics issues. And it's, I understand, I guess, the groveling appeal to the business slash mercantile class of New Zealand by the media. But I think at the same time, I think we're sort of missing the point of this a little bit. Like, if we take one step back from passage through the straits being disrupted, we have passage being disrupted because of the war. The US have sent 4,000 Marines to Iran today. Like, can we zoom out a little bit in the scope of covering the crisis and not think about the $119 whatever crude oil price for US barrels? Zoom out like a tiny bit and just think a little bit about how many people are actually in active conflict right now or being deployed against their knowledge, potentially against their will, especially in the US Army. Like, I find that so, and I mean, look, fuck the army. I don't care about the fucking states at all. But I just don't understand and I can't get my head around it. Like, when we were covering the Gulf War, when there was coverage of the Gulf War and stuff, it's like even coverage of the Vietnam War, like there was a humanitarian angle. Where is that humanitarian angle now? Have we just become so desensitized to seeing people die in active war zones that it's just not a consideration anymore?
They just
Where is
ignore
that
it.
angle?
They've been trained up on Gaza, right? If we're talking like Western media, they're either no, we're just going to say what the US or Israel has said. No need to do anything other than that. Also, we're actually pro-genocide now. We're actually enjoying this, but we can't write that in the papers. So the best we can do is not say anything at all, or just run a line and say, "Oh, but that's what they said. We have to report it." Hee hee. And then you got some commentators and reporters who are just well out. They've pushed the boat out
Mm,
so far. You can't see it anymore. It's beyond the horizon. Who are saying stuff like, "Yes, I want to see school children bombed to death." And
mm.
I'm not even kidding. That is what is happening. And especially if you read Israeli media, some places in the US as well at this point. Pete Hegseth was standing up last week saying, essentially implying that all Iranians were on the death list. Um,
Yeah.
it's it's horrific stuff. And you mentioned Ginny as well, like people being deployed against their knowledge. That has literally come out around the initial attacks. Is that a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of US soldiers, army people, were flown out, being told it was training exercises.
Just bizarre.
I do feel a lot better now. I'm thinking about all of those Marines getting murked and dying, and it does make me a lot happier than I was before. I have to say, America is, this point has been made so many times before, but to bring it up again, America is ostensibly, at least according to its most crayon munching members, a Christian nation. And when there were, you know, churches in Gaza from the fourth century being destroyed by Israeli bombs, and they didn't care and said nothing, I think that that has meant that I'm no longer surprised when nobody cares that Tehran is being completely, you know, attacked in a similar manner. But I also wonder if they just don't know. Like, I do wonder if the perception of Iran is just, oh, this is scary other. This is, you know, Muslim, other, foreign, you know, whatever it is. And so whatever feeling you want about it. And people just really don't know that, like, the average person is just so much more educated than an American, that they have some of the biggest like libraries in the world, biggest bookstores in the world, that it's a country which is so proud culturally of its literature and its poetry and its kind of architectural beauty. Or maybe it's just that settler colonies like the United States, like New Zealand, can't conceive of having a history because we have to invent mythologies instead, because that's what, you know, happens when you are impose whiteness and have to build a kind of ersatz fake Israel in the Pacific over 150 years. I mean, maybe it's that, I don't know. But on some level, even though I think that I'm quite cynical about this, it still breaks my heart to think about the fact that none of these people seem to even care about thousands upon thousands of years of history of living people there, of culture which is developed, and literature, these words that kind of reach back through eons that connect us to people who used to live in this world, and not just think, why are we going to war? What's the point of any of that? We're not here to oppress ourselves on a spinning rock for forever until we die, but they don't care.
Yeah, I think it's already starting to come out a little bit just how overtly propagandized in this particular case, US service people are, right? And the US public is. Like we're getting serious coverage again of this kind of evangelical Christian desire to trigger the apocalypse, to trigger Armageddon. And there've been preachers on US bases like preaching this shit. Like we have to do this because we're gonna go up to heaven kind of shit. It's the shocking thing to me is in this sense is how far into that they got without someone being like, hey, this is probably gonna have bad outcomes. It's
I've read a few of the Left Behind books when I was a kid because I used to read literally everything.
that's a throwback.
Because I used to like read literally everything from it. Did you know they made a movie with Nicolas Cage in it?
I did.
Anyway, I've never seen it. Maybe we should watch it for the pod. In any case, I've seen it, but this is like, I mean, like to me, because yeah, like I used to read everything. I read some of those books when I was, going through secondhand bookshops when I was 8 years old or whatever it is, and just buying whatever. And this is like basing your entire foreign policy off the Twilight book series and being like, listen, we have to send troops. We have to send special like Black Hawk helicopters into Brazil to whisk Edward out from Mardi Gras so he doesn't become a homosexual. Like it's so removed from reality to me. That's what it sounds like.
Did that happen in the books?
No, they don't do that in the books, but it's like, he does go to Brazil to escape from Bella because he just feels so hard about her.
He goes to Brazil?
He does.
Sorry,
He gets
this
a
is my new, it's
piercing.
Gibbons segue. I'm
He
just
gets to
go to
He doesn't get a
Brazil.
piercing. That's not how that works. But, he probably experimented. We have an entire Behind the Paywall Go Home or Go Home podcast episode about this.
Okay, you can plug your podcast at the end, dog.
Let's keep that in.
I think it was relevant. I think it was relevant. I think it was important information.
There was a story came out earlier this week, which actually is kind of linked to this, which is in 2002, George Bush was talking to Jacques Chirac about the invasion of Iraq. And he was talking about how Gog and Magog are at work in the Middle East at the minute. Apparently Chirac hung up the phone, then rang like the fucking top, the top like Protestant priest in France and went, what the fuck is he talking about? And I'm like, and that was then, and it's got so much worse now. Like the last week has been a real exercise in seeing what America does when they realize they're touching the stove. So markets closed last Friday. Oil starts climbing. We're at like $116, $120 a barrel, like come Monday morning our time, so Sunday evening their time. And Trump has to go and do a press conference and go, the war will be over soon. Everyone make the oil number go down, please. And it happened. It dropped, bang, back down to 90. And it slowly crept up this week. And you've got the IEA releasing like a third of their strategic reserve. And that's kind of kept it still around 98 to 100. But at the same time, you've got the completely outrageous Israeli attack on the Iranian oil infrastructure, which Iran then said, okay, we'll start doing that to you now. But the reason for Iran doing that has never been really properly spoken about in the media. It's just Iran are attacking oil terminals and tankers now. And it's like, yeah, because you just blew up the fucking main one in Tehran. It's raining black shit. That's technically a fucking war
on
crime.
10 million people.
10 million people are like breathing in like the kind of stuff that makes Shane Jones hard. It's like unbelievably shit. But we don't get that story.
Yeah.
We don't get why they're doing it. We just get Iran bad, blow things up, very scary.
Iran make oil go up.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to wonder if there's like a really famous pornography movie that has like raining black goo or something. What do you mean,
What?
Shane Jones?
Oh, because he's a drill baby drill guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he loves oil,
Okay.
like,
The only
he's
thing
And
I
we're
think
doing a
about
little
Shane-
bit of we're crushing two memes together.
Sorry, the only thing
reason
that I think
you-
about Shane Jones is that he was jorking it in a hotel and making the public pay for it. That's
Well, he does run on two-stroke. The reason our strategic oil reserve is kept in Spain and the UK is to stop Shane swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck. Let's be honest. Like he will be splashing around in that shit. He'd look like what's his face from
Problematic,
Dune.
Justin
Yeah.
Trudeau.
No, Baron. Okay, I mean
Baron
that's much
Harkonnen.
worse than Baron
Yeah,
Harkonnen. Okay.
honestly, he is so much better. Like the Harkonnens are in charge here. Let's be honest. In like the US, Israel, and everywhere, this is pure like Harkonnen shit, isn't it?
We're making Mr. Popo real. We're bringing Mr. Popo into the world.
Jesus.
And
I
then
know the fun thing about this week has been all of the tech bro guys going, "Why can't we just dig canal?" And all of the various solutions for
but,
what.
like I would drive a truck over land with all the oil.
Let's just do the wages of fear.
I
Hell
would pick
yeah,
up
let's
here.
just
Pick
do
it up
fucking.
here.
I don't think it's very nice to talk
Yeah.
about Jenny's friends that way.
Hey. They're not my friends. They're my
Acquaintances.
yeah. No, they are my friends. Some of them are my friends. But none of them, in my defense, have proposed building a tunnel underneath a canal or anything.
Yeah,
Vibe coding a canal.
I'm just saying, like I've seen some impressive stuff. Like people are asking Grok, like what should be done about the oil crisis in the Strait, and then I think Grok spat out a result I saw in someone's quote somewhere, which said that they could actually tunnel underneath the water and build like a trench, and then get drones to aquatic drones to transport reserves through that trench. And I was
This
like,
is the
interesting.
hyperloop again. This is the fucking hyperloop.
It's
Like,
Grok. It
if
is Grok
asked to,
after all.
yeah, if asked to solve problem, present hyperloop.
Elon Musk is
is
actually
Yeah.
is in there as a mechanical Turk, just writing these answers. Like,
It would be
I've got
really,
a
really
fucking
funny if you
plan.
asked Grok what is to be done and it just started quoting Lennon though.
I mean, we could probably get that down with enough prompt injection. Like someone could do
All right.
it. One of my
Grok,
friends
what is
might
the
be
link?
listening.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
Grok, what is the left
Yeah.
communist solution to this? And it's just like it's an infantile disorder. I don't think that you should be listening.
And in New Zealand, as this crisis unfolds, we've got Nicola Willis writing to Trump
Boo.
to ask for peace,
Boo.
about to head into what are being kind of softly peddled currently as maybe worse cuts than we've seen so far from this government, and they've already been horrific. And we're going to see, I guess, over the next couple of months, maybe it's already started a little bit, this kind of promotion of Nicola Willis as being this National Party, good economic handler kind of person, like really having her eye on the ball. However, there's a specific set of evidence that we have from her first couple of months as finance minister. New information just came out this week about how destitute her economic knowledge is, let alone her business knowledge, and how to. I don't even know the amount of failure she has capacity for. John, do you want to give us a quick summary of where we're at with the Ferries debacle?
Uh-oh. This is the one.
My specialist subject. So, this week it came out that the cost of the Cook Strait ferry port and replacement thing for IREX is already at $1.867 billion. That's 167 million over budget already. They have not signed all of the port agreements they need to have with Centreport and with Marlborough, which will need public money from the ratepayers, the same ratepayers who are going to have a rates cap on them from next year. So Winston is saying publicly it's not going to cost more than $2 billion. And that is a lie, because it already costs more than $2 billion. We've got the 1.867 billion they've budgeted for the work, and we'll talk about what that work is and what it isn't in a little bit. But what that number doesn't include is keeping the current ferries, 2 ferries, running for another 3 years, which they were estimating it was about $65 million a year just to maintenance these things when we had 3. So, you know, charitably, we could say maybe $50 million because these are getting worse. So let's add an 195 million to that 1.867 billion. Let's also add the cost of cancelling IREX. So 5, 6, yeah, about $671 million. So on top of the 1.867 billion, we've now added $866 million. Okay, and that's before this work has really started yet. That brings us to 2.733 billion for this project in its entirety. Now, that's more than $2 billion. It's also about $200 million short of what IREX asked the government for in 2023. They actually asked for 1.47 billion to bring it to 2.92 billion. So what we're saying is the current Cook Strait replacement project is on track to cost more than IREX would have cost. Okay?
And 3 years later.
And 3 years later, and with a dramatically reduced service. This week we only had one ferry working at one point because one of them stopped working in Wellington. They thought they fixed it. They got it to Picton. It stopped working again. They've had to put an Inter-Islander staff member on a plane to go and fetch the parts from somewhere else. And Winston's making noises about, well, we need to get more spare parts in, don't we? The costs of this is not factored into it, even though it is a fundamental part of this project. Okay? So actually, what do we get for this nearly the same amount? Well, Picton is getting a new wharf because there is no way you could have done this without giving Picton a new wharf because its wharf is munted. It's got a 60-year lifespan or 2 rounds of ferries existing. Okay? It is still minimum viable though, so we will have to go in there and actually upgrade things like the terminals and things like that in the future because Winston doesn't want to spend money on the bits that people use. He just wants wharf, boat, leave it alone. Wellington keeps its horrible terminal, which was shit when I was there about 10 years ago and hasn't changed. It's going to get a new passenger span because they realised they couldn't reuse the old one, even though that was their plan. But Wellington's port is only going to last for 30 years. So in 30 years' time, we're going to have to go back and do a lot of this again. Also not taken into account, we don't have any rail-enabled ferries right now. There is no way to get rail freight across there without taking it off the train onto the ferry, taking it off the ferry, putting it back on a train. And that's going to be like that for 4 years. And the problems we've had with these ferries in the past do not tend to happen during the summer or the autumn like now. We are about to hit the bad weather, and we've got 2 ferries which... What was the description of them? That you have to put $65 million a year into these things, but essentially they're from 1995 and 1998. They were due to run out of lifespan in the mid-2020s. We are in 2026. These things are dead on their feet. They should have been replaced by now by at least one of the IREX ferries, and we would have had a fleet of 3 ferries going across until we got the second ferry, because the 2 new ferries would have tripled the capacity of the existing service.
I just want to put on the record right now that if we end up in a situation over this winter where one of these ferries completely fucks out halfway over the strait in bad weather and people die, that is entirely at the door of Nicola Willis. She is directly responsible for that, as is the rest of this government for not doing something about it. There's just no, like, it is just an immense amount of neglect.
It's catastrophic failure to understand what it was they were doing. Like Winston talking about, oh, we don't want the Taj Mahal terminals or all that. All that was we wanted good terminals at either end, and we were going to do the whole thing. Both ports, brand new infrastructure, like a century's worth of upgrades all in one go. But what he's done is he's cut out the terminals and he's cut out as much cost as he can to get that number below 2 billion, even though that number's already above 2 billion. Like, just the sheer wastefulness of this project is unbelievable. And the costings of 1.867 billion or whatever, doesn't take into account that crude is like $100 a barrel, because there is no fucking way in hell you're going to be doing all of those work on that port without a significant fuel cost. We've got to get those ferries from Guangzhou all the way to here as well. I mean, that was one of the things that happened this week. It was revealed Andrea Vance has been very, very good at this. By putting in lots of OIAs, which Ferry Holdings Limited have been hiring expensive law firms to try and stop them doing this. And she found out that Winston Peters was like, no, we guarantee that we'll pay you for these ships. And the Chinese shipyards went, we would like a crown guarantee, please, given what you did to Hyundai shipyards, thank you. And that means the crown has guaranteed a certain percentage, which I'm guessing is more than what they paid Hyundai to get these ships. And shall we just talk about the ships for a second? Love the ships. $596 million for 200-meter diesel-electric rail-enabled ships. Thank God they're rail-enabled. At least we do get that eventually. But these are less carbon efficient than the 250-meter ones we had with Hyundai. which would be in service right now. They are costing a whole heap more. I mean, if you wanna add it up like neatly, we're paying about $400 million per ship if you include the cancellation costs for the Hyundai ships. So we could have got two massive, brilliant ships for 550 million. In fact, we're paying nearer 800 million for ones which are just not as good. And this is the thing. When you look back at the media around the time of the cancellation of the project and they identified the risks, all of those risks are being realized now. And the government is just like, yeah, we're just fixing Labour's nest because it's going to blow out to this. We've saved I think Winston's going, we've saved the public $2 billion. And I'm like, no, you haven't. You've got them $2 billion shitter infrastructure. Like, do the people of New Zealand not deserve good infrastructure? Like, because if we paid 3 billion up, and even if it had blown out and we had that work done, at least the work would be fucking done by now. But it's not, and it's not going to be done until 2029. If
At least
it does get done, yeah, at least. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Like, if
this is
China
New Zealand.
if China starts going, hey, our fuel security is more important than your boats, then what happens?
Yeah, do
Like,
you remember John Key's Convention Center?
yeah, it made a beautiful plume of smoke when the roof caught fire.
Twice.
That means they've selected a new prime minister. If the smoke is white, it means that John Key's having a good time.
I'm so sorry for being so fucking obsessive about this one, but from the minute they cancelled it, I went, oh god, this is terrible. And like, it's just, you have all of the people involved in the project who got their contracts cancelled and stuff so fucking mad about this. And like we did just talk about it, but this comes in a week where you had the former manager of the Marsden Point oil refinery going on Radio New Zealand and going, yeah, we should probably use this to transition off fossil fuels because this shit's really fucking risky. And the guy who runs the import terminal going, yeah, we shouldn't base our economy on trying to get fuel out of South Korea. What we should do is electrify and do renewables. And I'm like, the oil guys are going, hey, maybe oil's a bad idea. Like,
Well,
I've never seen like unprecedented circumstances, but apparently, like, yeah,
the Marston guy directly called out the closer relationship with the US as well.
yes,
Like,
yes, we're aligning with MAGA states in a 1980s policy, and I'm just like,
just like that. That's
woo!
people do understand it, right? Like, even some business guys are starting to go like, wait a fucking second. I mean, the most insane thing is, like, you got to this, we're talking about Nicola Willis and National Party's ability to look after the economy or whatever. How did Nicola Willis cancel these contracts again? What started all of this? Everyone's doing a little, what do you call Nokia text messaging action.
Okay, but when Nokia, I
on the
wouldn't have to
screens.
look at the screen. I could do that under the desk.
Well,
Don't
some
underestimate
people.
my skills, Kyle.
I will. Yeah, she sent a text message like in the middle of the night, just saying, "Oh, these are cancelled," and then the ambassador, I think, or whatever they have over there. What's another thing they have that's not an ambassador? A representative had to do
Trade
all this
minister.
work to try and like assuage the Hyundai and the government of South Korea, like because Willis just like flicked this message off saying that I'm not doing it anymore.
I can't,
Like-
can't believe that the actual message itself was no ferries, thanks, lol.
But like these aren't serious people. These are not people who know what they're doing. Like that is just how do you do something like that? Why did that work? Why were they able to cancel the fucking ferries like that? How did they not immediately just have her removed as Minister of Finance? It's absurd. And it's been like that for 3 years, and here we are.
A significant number of contract cases, if you ever have the misfortune of going through law school, are about shipping cases because it's deadly serious. So I'm kind of shocked that they haven't been sued. I guess they just had to like really, really kiss the ring and pay lots and lots of money. Just they had prayed and hoped, and South Korea was magnanimous about it. But it's
We
really
did
funny
pay
because
them.
if you read, like, there's so many Hong Kong cases about like contracts involving like the finer points of shipping.
We paid them $222 million for no boats. We paid them $222 million for no boats. I mean, if I'm Hyundai, I'm just like, fantastic. Fantastic. Would you like another one?
Yeah. And also, we started making these boats. Someone else is going to buy these. Like,
You know, I'm just really glad that there's never any reason to go to the South Island. You know, we should all be grateful.
The South Island's also grateful for that. But yeah, just it's crazy that the cost of up to $4 billion for the $40 billion freight route for the country was like 10% of the annual freight cost.
Party
Just
of business, baby.
just yeah, party of business, and they haven't signed the port deals yet with Marlborough and Centreport and Greater Wellington Regional Council. They're going to have to consult with the community about that. That's going to come out in about 3 or 4 months' time. Before the election, it should be perfectly possible for any opposition party who wants to play this game to go, hey, let's just add up the total of all the shit you've done. Right. Oh, wait, this is like $3 billion. You're telling me I could have had ferries and ports and stuff that's much better than what you're offering by now for that. Like, I don't know why someone doesn't do it and just very loudly go, they haven't done the thing they said they've done. I think it would fatally. I think Winston would have a heart attack, which obviously would be terrible because there are much better consequences for him.
I think
Ginny's bringing something to Wellington to help with that. I understand.
Yeah. Just one 3D printed device, just one. That's all
Cash Patel, nice to have you on the pod.
I
I think what we're not grasping though is that this is actually the National Party's first volley in their South Island secession campaign.
need. Oh
Um,
gosh, don't even start.
Listen.
I don't want to be stuck on an island with Noel Edmonds.
The national anthem's gonna be "Let's Go Girls." Dun, 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 dun. Does Shania Twain still own like heaps of land down there, or am I making an outdated joke?
I thought it was Tiger Woods who'd own a lot of land in the
I think a
South.
lot of people own a lot of
A
land
lot of
in
people
South
do,
Island,
yeah.
except for like the actual
South
owners.
Island seceding to become the new Argentina would be really funny.
Everyone except for
actually.
the actual traditional owners of the land.
I mean, that's the plan for Queenstown, right? Is like to become its own little
Oh, it's special economic
its
zone.
own little principality.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's on
Um,
Argentina. That's what I said.
I do think I agree with
I,
what sorry, what were you gonna say?
that I love the idea of Queenstown as a special economic zone because I'm involved in civil defence and I know what happens to that place when the Alpine Fault goes. And you know what? Let's put all the billionaires there. Let's put them all right there. Let them build their houses on the hillsides. Let's put them right there. I think it's a fantastic idea. I also, approve a lot of geothermal drilling along the fault, possibly some testing involving high explosives. Let's get this thing moving, baby.
I was gonna say I completely agree with what Kyle was saying before, that I think New Zealand doesn't really respond unless a disaster happens, right? Like there could be another Wahine disaster out of this, because global warming means that storms are going to become more frequent. If you have ferries that are liable to falling apart, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? I don't think it's necessarily inevitable, but I think we'll be lucky if something bad doesn't happen, right? And if it does, then suddenly people say, oh, perhaps we should have cared about this, but they don't care beforehand. And that does bother me a lot. That I think it's kind of interesting because out of it, most likely, they won't actually. I mean, this is the great injustice, right? Is that if something terrible like that happens, they won't talk about global warming. They won't talk necessarily even about like it being National's fault with the ferries or the blood being on Nicola Willis's hands. There'll be some other bullshit that they come out with about why it's like the left's fault.
No, it'll be like you can't make it political. Don't make it
it'll,
about politics.
it'll be
This
Kiwi
is a time
Rail's
of
fault.
national mourning.
It'll be
Actually,
Kiwi Rail's fault because Bluebridge would never do this. So what we need to do is privatise. That's
right.
That's the deal. It's well, obviously the government can't be trusted to run this infrastructure, so we need to privatise it. And
Yeah.
it's like, cool. I mean, what you're talking about is bad things happening, Simone, about infrastructure wear down. Moa Point, the Rikaya rail bridge a couple of years ago. Like, it doesn't take much to knock over some pretty key bits of infrastructure in this country at the minute. I'm thinking, it wouldn't take, like, if another Cyclone Gabrielle hit Auckland, inshallah, then, what's going to happen to many bits of the North Shore? A lot more millionaires' mansions are going to suddenly realize that piles into mud cliffs is a very bad idea.
Jenny, you're going to make a worthy sacrifice.
Sorry,
I
Ginny.
don't live on the part where they have cliffs. My exes do, okay? I'm gonna be fine.
But again, we are in a very vulnerable place. right now because of a consistent lack of investment over the last 40 years. And the attempts to do that investment keep failing because we can't build something new and nice. We have to like part sell it to a shitty company who clips the ticket to not actually fix it. And then when it goes wrong, everyone kind of points fingers at everyone else and nothing gets done. Like there is.
And then they let the CEO run over to Australia and never face consequences, right?
My favorite little like, you know, too smart for their britches kind of policy wonk, you know, like Yimby kind of West Wing guy thing to say about it is like, oh, well, actually, it's because the terms are too short and there's too much democratic movement in New Zealand. We need to make more of an autocracy with like longer terms, maybe 5-year terms. Like, it's so funny when people's solution is just to be like, there's just too much democracy here. But they couch it in other language. With respect to that, I mean, I was talking about this elsewhere, right? That our main Americans can't believe this because they maxed out their road infrastructure but don't have other infrastructure, whereas we didn't removed our rail infrastructure and other infrastructure, and then also didn't max out our road infrastructure. So our state highway, the main arterial route north to south, is like 1 lane each side for a majority of its length. And that's how our goods get around the country, trucks moving them up and down at 3 a.m., you know, whether that's logs or whether that's like, you know, freighting. And if something destroys like a big portion of it outside, you know, between Levin and Taihabe or something like that, like we're kind of fucked. You know, it's really, really hard to get around that. I don't think people realize how, in many cases, we not only don't have N+1 infrastructure, like, you know, backup, we also don't have N in many cases.
Because the same thing, like in terms of what infrastructure we have available and how we move stuff around, fuel crisis is going to fuck us.
Yeah, I mean, if we had a significant, substantial rail network that was all electrified, there wouldn't be as much of an issue. And if we were able to, you know, have good enough public transport that you can move people and you can also, you know, not have insane bosses who won't let you work from home and whatever it is, right? Like there are ways to mitigate and significantly draw down our fuel usage, but we won't do it.
Great. So everything's looking really rosy. And I'm glad to have such keen economic managers in charge of the country. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. Nicola will seem to have all in hand, is I guess what we're saying. I guess that's the conclusion of this episode.
Yeah, we can trust her. She knows what she's doing.
Ferry in practice, baby.
Ferry in practice.
Can we end on a hopeful note?
Yeah, hit it. Please, please, God.
The Wellington Library opened today.
Yes.
I know that it's been
Yay.
missing. It's been missing in action for so many years. They've had to do the rebuild and the re-strengthening and all of that. But the Wellington Library has opened today. That is exactly the sort of public-focused community infrastructure that every town and city in this country deserves. You know, I've seen the pictures. It looks beautiful. I cannot wait to visit the next time I'm there. It's been what, seven years? 7 years, but it's open today. And you know, like, so if you are in Wellington, go visit your library because it's yours. You know, go and enjoy that space. It's yours. You know, just like it's really important that we can still do things like this. You know, because everything bad, everything terrible, no infrastructure. Hey, that library's pretty special. You know, it's part of the things that Andrew Little can't stop, shall we say.
Yeah, and
librarians shouldn't have to be social workers, but they often are. And as those kind of move on orders come in and national enacts a social murder policy against homeless people, a lot of homeless people really rely on libraries, whether that's just, you know, to rest or to use facilities, or it's to, you know, get some help putting a CV together to apply for jobs and things like that, which, you know, at the moment, I mean, I don't know how good that's going to be when nobody can get a job. But, you know, in any respect, it's notable to note that libraries are kind of one of the only places where people can kind of just exist, and we have public services there now. I didn't have any hope that the Wellington City Library was going to reopen because Tangako Civic Square has had one after another a series of its buildings just shut down. The town hall, I think, closed when I graduated secondary school or before then, and just it's been like, how long? I don't know how, like a decade or something.
The cost of that thing is unbelievable as well. I cannot believe they're talking 300 million or something.
Yeah.
And at some point, I know that it's a heritage building, but for 300 million?
Heritage in New Zealand means like 80 years old. Like, let's be real. It's not a real thing.
It's just how it looks.
Sorry?
It's actually about how it looks.
Yeah. Kind of a recapitulation. I don't know. I was complaining about Ponsonby Villas the other day to somebody. So well versed in these rants. But all that to say, it's these things have been shown. Even the like way of escaping it, right, through the city to sea bridge, they were like, well, we've got to replace this, which fair enough. But it seems like things just get broken and then they don't get fixed, and the costs are extraordinary, partly because of earthquake necessities and strengthening up to code for these major buildings, but also because we have our kind of public-private partnership system where it's just a cream skimming exercise for construction companies to work slowly because that's cheaper, right, through the tender process. This is one of the fundamental issues with this country, and I am shocked, really, that the City Library has come up and running again. I'm really thankful that it has. I know a lot of people in Wellington, and it's really, really good. Also, I imagine the coffee inside is probably great because it's Wellington. I am.
They actually called that out in an article about the library. They're like, this flat white, it looks amazing. And I was like, you know what? Fair.
There
Just
are
go
more
off,
Mojo
yeah.
training centers in Wellington than like polytechnic tertiary institutions. Like, but I do have to say, yeah, I think one thing that worries me, and I think this should be a whole other episode perhaps about archives and that, is that having gone around libraries, like even university libraries, which I regularly use, there seems to be a trend in libraries toward moving books offsite or mulching them and putting in like, I don't know how to describe this kind of movement of like weirdly shaped couches in spaces and having like group working spaces, which is okay and nice. But I really hope that Wellington Library actually does have all of the collection that it used to have before they moved it to the Te Awe and Brandon Street sites and other sites around. I really hope that they haven't just like moved stuff offsite and it has like 2/3 of the books that it used to. So somebody report back and tell us whether or not it is really a useful trove for
full
knowledge.
itemization. I want you to go through book by book.
If you're a librarian and you're
report
listening
back.
to this because you are, tell us.
Yeah, thanks, John. I think that it's really good to have some hopeful news at the end. More public services more of the time, more funding for that stuff, because that's what actually helps us flourish as a culture and community, right? Thank you to all my guests. Thank you for joining us, everybody. That's been another episode of 1 of 200. Thank you to our audience. Like, share, subscribe. Check out Common Sense, our newsletter, where we round up all the useful stories from resident New Zealand media, and try and chuck some things into a gig guide to let you know what cool upcoming stuff is happening, what petitions you can sign, what protests you can join, what courses and workshops and book launches, etc. Coming up in the next few weeks. Would really love it if you could share that as well.
If you would like to hear more Kamehameha riffs and Mike Hosky impressions, Go Han or Go Home is available wherever podcasts can be found.
John, any pitches from you?
No, everyone deserves nice public services. It shouldn't be too difficult to actually get that. You're just going to need to threaten a lot of rich people to get them.
And Ginny.
Hi, not a plug for me, a plug for a tabletop RPG that I'm checking out with my friends, which is called 10,000 Swords Against Heaven. It's an ultra-violent Buddha communist revolutionary game. And it's a great way to take out any anger you might have against the fascist establishment, if you're so inclined. Please check it out. It's on pretty much Patreon. It's on itch.io, and there's a whole bunch of promo as well on Twitter for it.
Fantastic.
Fully enlightened poverty, gay earth communism.
Beautiful.
It's very good. It's very good. So,
All right.
yeah. If you want a Buddha Marxist game, you should play it.
You heard it all there, folks. Go check those things out. And hopefully we'll have another couple of episodes for you in the midweek. This has been your 1 of 200 current events. We'll catch you next time.
If artificers are then I'm living a pointless life, but learning all your lessons. Fucking politics, there's no distinction. The road's apart now. It's paved with good intentions, and I'll admit that I'm at a loss for what to say when they quote this as a cost we ought to stay. 'Cause I live amongst the people every day in this vindictive, forgetful fucking rain.